I can't see anything. Well, you should be able to see something now because we're actually live. We're a little bit late. What are we? Episode 20, Brandon?
20.
Episode 20. So we've got a little bit different studio this time. We've got some special guests with us. We've got. I'll leave you last. They know you.
I'm the fucking most special guest. I'm the one who brought these motherfuckers.
We've got Greg Anderson. I sent some emails out earlier with his video that he posted. It's close to 1 million.
Oh, it's like 50 million.
Is it at 50 million?
It's
All right, so I was
ridiculous.
way off.
Way
The one on Instagram I saw was like almost
50 million?
It's been a different.
Yeah,
No, it got shared on Facebook. And
Gotcha.
Yeah.
it went
Wow.
Facebook.
So, law enforcement officer, former Army Ranger.
Yep.
Right. We'll get into all of that. We've got Joao Assis, world
champion,
World
WTC
champion,
world champion,
7-time world
few
champion,
times.
jiu-jitsu world champion,
Baddest motherfucker on planet Earth.
Yep.
and then there's Greg Lapin. So there's that. So anyway, we're gonna do some admin stuff. We need to announce last week's giveaway winner, right?
Yeah, last week was it was another YouTube commenter on your channel. YouTube name is Crow Magnum, CROWE Magnum. So, dude, if you're out there, send Luke an email, luke@usacarry.com. They'll hook you up with, what do we have? We have some pretty good stuff, right?
I have to look back. It's like hats, t-shirts, stickers, maybe a knife. Did you
A
give away
knife,
a knife? Maybe you're giving away a knife every week. So on that note, we give away stuff if you ask questions. So we'll be taking questions this week. I'm giving away hat, t-shirt, sticker, patch as usual. Brandon?
Sticker, knife, and one of those hats
One of those hats
that I don't have up here.
that
Yeah.
nobody can see back there.
It's back there. It says Concealed Nation right where this thing is. How do they enter?
They ask a question.
Any question?
Any question.
So like,
A real question, not a
Oh, so-
statement with a question
No.
mark behind it.
Oh, like what's going on, everyone? That he's
so
entered.
he doesn't qualify.
He's entered. Jessica says, "Yay, Greg." Is that this Greg or
Yeah.
that Greg?
It's this
Which
Greg.
Greg is it?
That's
We
the
got two
shares.
Gregs here.
Double your pleasure, double your fun, you know?
She's a regular. Let's see. We got Frank Rose. He
Greg
won last
squared.
week. Greg squared, right? So, anyway, ask questions. Win next week's giveaway. Watch next week's video. See if you win. So Greg, your video. What made you make that? And can you give them like a Cliff Notes version of what
Yeah,
it is
so-
if they haven't seen it?
For the people that haven't seen it, basically, I was a patrol officer in Seattle, Washington for the last 3 years. I've been in law enforcement for about 10. And this whole coronavirus thing, I just felt like the elected officials, the mayors and the governors were misusing law enforcement officers and basically using us as the enforcement for their executive orders. And for us, I mean, our title is law enforcement officers, not executive order enforcement officers. And talking to my chain of command, talking to my chief, talking to my sergeant, talking to all my coworkers and my friends like across the nation, literally every single one of them was horrified seeing all the shit that's going on. Like arresting people for going surfing
Right.
and arresting people for playing catch with their daughters. And I mean, everybody was of the same mindset. Like if the government feels that we need to do this, they need to approach us in a manner where it's like a respectful request, not the threat of we're going to arrest you and we're going to cite you. Because right out of the gates, that puts us as the patrol level officer in a confrontation
Right.
with the citizens. And it's an uphill battle as it is being a patrol level officer, maintaining the public's trust. And so after seeing this happening over and over and over, and then also finding out that literally no officers support what they're seeing, I was like, it needs to come out from one of us in the uniform on duty saying, hey, this is not what we stand for. This is not what we should be doing. And this is not what the American public thinks that we should be doing. And so I just held my phone up. It wasn't like some scripted thing where I like had some agenda. Like, there's so many fucking conspiracy theories about it right now.
You're an actor. You're not even
Yeah, I
real.
know.
Wait,
I'm a paid
you're a paid actor?
I'm a paid actor.
How much did you get paid for that video? Is
Yeah.
it per impression?
Yeah, I don't know.
So you have like
You'd
$50
have to
now?
ask them. But yeah, I made that video, and that's exactly what the video was touching on. It was talking about how that's not our role. If they want us to educate the public, then it needs to be presented as that. And even that's not our job. But I get it. This is kind of new territory for everybody, right? So if they want officers on the streets talking to people, asking them to adhere to the governor's requests, so be it. But once they're telling us to go out there, check for papers. Like, I had a buddy who I was in Ranger Regiment with. The dude's a fucking war hero. He is pulled over twice saying, where are your papers showing you're essential? And this was in Nevada. You can't be on the roadways unless you're essential. And a couple more things like that, I just fucking had it. And I was like, listen, like, I deployed 14 times for this country. And I'm not just going to take a back seat and not say anything when every single person that I talk to feels a certain way. And so I made that video expressing those feelings, and it just went fucking viral, like almost.
So you posted that
instantaneously.
to your Instagram account?
Yeah. on my
So before
Instagram,
that, like, how many followers, or like, was it just your
Like-
kind of
What?
like 13.
2, 3.
2 or 3?
These guys.
I was there.
Yeah, that's a funny story. We'll get into that. But me and Greg became homies on Instagram like a couple years ago, just because of that picture where he was standing with his gear and then he was standing with his gi.
Okay.
And it's
I
like-
was thinking of a different picture. I was thinking of the Silkies.
So Mike Honcho. So
Those are private texts.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
But yeah, so I mean, I had like 1,300 followers on Instagram. I'm just a normal dude. I'm a cop that has 3 kids in a jiu-jitsu academy, you know, and it went fucking nuts. So it's been good though. I mean, and by good, I lost my job.
Well, so there's a question. So are you still in law enforcement, or is it still pending?
All right,
or-
so Jessica Howell.
Yeah.
Anyone that's ever worked for the government understands that the government moves like pond water. Everything takes an eternity. So I was put on what's called paid administrative leave on May 6th because they wanted to investigate. Basically, they're saying that it was a violation of policy because I was online when I was on duty in uniform. But that's just all, they're just figuring out a way to make it work because guys are on the internet in their uniform literally every single day. It's never been an issue before.
Right.
But they put me on leave pending the investigation, and then they contacted me and said, Greg, the video has to come down. And I said, well, what do you mean it has to come down?
It
Explain
was
to me.
fine at first,
It was
right?
fine at first. Yeah, at first, the patrol
Before it
commander
got so many
the
impressions.
patrol commander actually hit me up the next day and was like, hey, we really support your message. Good on you. We're behind you. Like, cool, you know? And then, and this is just my theory, but I've had people tell me that it came down from the governor's office. They're like, hey, that needs to be pulled.
Right.
Because I openly said, defy your governor, defy your mayor. You have to stand up for what you believe is right, not what some elected official tells you is right. Because what the law tells you to do versus what's morally and ethically correct, sometimes those things are in contrast. And so I implored officers to look into their own hearts. And if something feels wrong, if I'm putting handcuffs on a lady because she's pushing a 4-year-old on a swing and that feels wrong to you, it's probably because it's wrong.
Right.
So you need to take a step back and be like, you know what? I'm not going to do that. And so the rumor mill has it. There's no confirmation that it came down from the governor's office that this guy needs to go. And they told me to take it down. And I told my chief straight up, I'm like, listen, the whole point of putting that video out there was that you need to stand up for what you believe is right, even if it does cost you your career, even if it does get you in trouble. How can I put that message out there and implore people to stand up for what they say or what they believe is right? And then as soon as somebody says, hey, go ahead and you need to rescind your words or else if I tuck tail and run, I'm going to lose all my friends.
Right.
Everyone's going to think I'm a bitch the rest of my life.
Right.
You
What
know,
happened?
it's like, yeah, exactly. Oh, well, it's funny. YouTube pulled it down or, you know, no. So I was like, hey, for my own credibility, the video has to stay.
Right.
And if that means you have to fire me, then that's, you guys figure out what you have to do. And so they brought me in and we did like a 2-hour internal affairs investigation. And that was May 27th. And I haven't heard a peep since. So
You
No.
haven't heard anything since May.
nope, not one, not an email, not a text, not a phone call, nothing. But
Greg, I have a question for you.
go ahead.
The I watched one of your follow-up videos. It was the one right after you posted that video. and he said that whoever you spoke with first there, when you had a couple thousand views on the video, they were like, awesome, good job, right? And then once it got to something like a couple hours later and you were around 400,000,
Yep.
I think he said then it became a problem.
Yeah, they said I think the exact quote was, Greg, it's time to pull the plug on this thing. It's getting too big.
And you're like,
I'm like, well, if a couple hours ago it was a good message
Right.
and it's gaining traction, wouldn't that be better?
Right. So
But
more
that-
people are seeing it.
That's applying logic to the government, though.
so for people who weren't here at the very beginning, what's the view count look like now? I know it's on Instagram and Facebook, but any idea on the combined?
I mean, one share alone on Facebook got 15 million. That's on one share.
That's somebody copied your video, posted it. Or
Well, it went okay. So when it's funny how this worked out, because I'm not super tech savvy, and I shared it on my Instagram.
we're the tech nerds. Me and him.
So I shared it on my Instagram,
Uh-huh.
but since it wasn't a regular post, it was IGTV.
Uh-huh.
Instead of going to my regular Facebook, it went to my business. It went to Electric Jiu Jitsu's Facebook.
Oh, okay.
And so if you guys have seen that, all of my longer videos that I post on Instagram went to Electric Jiu Jitsu.
Okay.
And then people started sharing it on Facebook from there. And so one of the shares there, and it was a guy that has his name's Steve Sanchez. He has some like talk radio show out of Vegas.
Okay.
He got 15 million views on that share alone.
That's
And
crazy.
then now it's on YouTube and Twitter and all these. I don't have any of that stuff.
Yeah.
So, I mean, who knows where it's at, but yeah, it went nuts.
I'm getting a request to talk into the mic if we can, or pull it to him.
Like
That was him.
right here.
That was actually for you.
Oh, you're talking to me?
Yeah.
The way you're talking. I just can't turn my head and look at him apparently. All right.
Greg's doing fine. You're the one that's a mess.
All right. Well, I'll just leave and y'all can talk. So, what are you doing now?
I started my own podcast. It's called The Endless Endeavor. And I got hit up by a lot of people that are like, hey, based on your videos, we'd like to hear more content from you. We'd like to hear your thoughts on this and that, and hear about your Army experience and hear more about jiu-jitsu. So I was like, you know what? I got time on my hands now. So it's training jiu-jitsu, it's working out, and it's doing the podcast. It's been good.
Cool.
And it's awesome. I know the guy and I'm listening to his podcast. So check it out. Endless Endeavor.
Yeah, I just posted a link in the comments to the YouTube version of it, but you can find it on Apple.
Yeah, we're on Apple
all
and
that stuff, right.
I always direct people to Apple or Spotify, depending if they're Android or Apple, but
Right.
I guess it's on a million little hosts too. I don't really know how that works, but it's going out there everywhere.
So, Brandon, are you looking through these comments to see if we have any questions or anything?
Yeah, I'm looking.
Obviously, I mean, we've got 3 jiu-jitsu owners in the gym, so if anybody
Yeah. So
Wait,
let's go.
3 jiu-jitsu gym owners.
Let's
under
go
one
back
roof.
to how this motley trio.
Yeah, like why are all these
how
people
this
here?
motley trio, dude? It's crazy.
It's awesome.
I'm gonna let.
All right, so we'll go way back to
Let's go.
2011, and I was a brown belt, not a very good brown belt, I found out. And I was living in Seattle, and I got hired by the U.S. Marshal Service, and that agency ended up stationing me in Los Angeles, California. So I moved to Los Angeles as a brown belt, and it's like, okay, what gym am I going to work out at now? I got to find a new gym, and I basically just opened up Google Maps and looked at what gyms are along my commute, and then did a little bit of research about them. And if you're a jiu-jitsu guy and you're listening, you probably heard of Marcus Almeida, Buchecha. I didn't go there because I knew who he was. I went there because he's the only guy that ran class at 7 p.m. And I
that
could,
was when
yeah,
you could
and
make
it worked with my work schedule. So I went in there and signed up and started training with dudes that are monsters. And I remember telling Buchecha, like, one of my first practices with him, I said, bro, start me back over at white belt. No hard feelings. Like, this is a different thing down here. I don't want to have this brown belt around my waist. Start me back over at white belt. He's like, oh, Greg, no, man. Like, you earn, you train hard and just represent that belt as best you can. And so I ended up training with him for a couple years, and then he introduced me to Joao. And I don't know if you remember this, Joao. The first moment we met, he came to do some work with the Marshal Service, and the first thing he said to me, like, bro, do you like the coffee? I said, yeah, I fucking love coffee. He's like, man, before we train, let's go get coffee. And I was like, this is my guy right here. And I remember like we just had a good time. He trained a bunch of guys for at my agency and we just clicked. And I remember going home telling Jenny, I was like, that's who I need to get my black belt under. Like, because jiu-jitsu is more, it's not just about technique and it's not about like, you know, how good guys are. Obviously that plays a role, but a big part of it is finding guys you click with.
Lifestyle,
yeah,
culture,
right.
personality.
And you find those dudes that are like, we were literally just talking about this in the car. You find those dudes that are part of your tribe and it's like, okay, this is my new home. And after I met Joao, timing was good because Marcus actually stepped away from coaching because he was getting super famous in the jiu-jitsu world, big superstar. And I was like, dude, Electric Jiu Jitsu is my new home. And, you know, I would commute. I was living in Lake Elsinore. And for anyone that's not familiar with that, it was like 50 miles out of the way every night to go train at Electric Jiu Jitsu. Because I knew, I was like, this is who I need to invest my time in. This is where I want my lineage to be. And fuck, man, I was with you for a couple of years.
Yep.
And got my black belt under Joao. And then ended up moving back home to Seattle and opening up my own academy.
For those that aren't familiar with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, or, you know, for those maybe that are hobbyist practitioners, let's kind of break this down. Joao, the man sitting across the table from me, 7-time world champion,
7-time world champion since purple belt, winning world championships like
every rank
for the
level.
last almost 12 years.
Yep.
Like on all the finals, you know, have some few golds, but I have some few silvers.
Yeah.
You know, like right? We forget about the silver, but
Of course.
it's been many finals through the career, traveling all over the world and competing many countries, different people.
ADCC.
ADCC.
For those of you that don't know what ADCC is, it stands for Abu Dhabi Combat Club, and it was started by one of the crown princes in Abu Dhabi. I want to say back in the late 90s. Yeah, late 90s, kind of shortly after the UFC started in the early 90s. And the ADCCs is like the Super Bowl and the Stanley Cup.
I think it's more
wrapped in
I think it's more like the Olympic Games.
Olympic Games of no-gi
you have like the
jiu-jitsu.
World Championship yearly.
It's the best way.
But it's big, it's huge. But you have the Olympic Games that it's just, you know, like for every other year, and you have like maybe if you're the best in some years, you don't gonna make it because you don't, you know what I mean? You're gonna reach your peak with the competition dates, and just like Olympic Games happen, right? So it's something that every year you have few world champions, but it's like, you know, like Olympic Games champions. So it's one in many. It's a little more important, let's say.
Yeah.
Right. It's like that has this because it comes from a king from the Emirates. So it has this vibe, this magical thing around, you know, for many years, it was the biggest paycheck in jiu-jitsu, right? It comes, and the very beginning used to come with like diamond watches.
Diamond watch from the prince. Yeah.
I didn't at the time.
You didn't get a
They
diamond
don't,
watch?
dude, they don't play in the watch.
Unfortunately.
You know, Greg, you know, so Joao, like before he retired, one of the best in the world, and like still probably one of the baddest dudes in the world. And then Marcus Buchecha Almeida, Buchecha is his nickname. Right now, I still think stands currently as the winningest black belt.
Bro, my Buchecha, it's in, you know, you have all the champions, the tough guys that do, but you have that one or two guys like the Michael Phelps of the Michael Jordan, right? Yeah. And Buchecha did that, you know, like he's like on the Guinness World Records book, you know, like as the biggest champion of all times. Probably was one of the guys who made the most money in jiu-jitsu too, with all the prizes he got, because when he became the professional, when he became who he is, he got this beginning of the pro jiu-jitsu boom, you know, like they're not just paying, but they were paying like big checks for the time, you know. So he cleaned up the whole thing, you know, like he became, and now probably gonna take like a generation to catch up with him, you know. So Fortunately, we are from the same family, you know. Like I saw Bochecha on the blue belt, you know, competing in São Paulo, like,
and
you know,
these are like the most humble, nicest, chillest dudes you'll ever meet, and that's what I want to make sure we stress is that Greg, not this Greg, that Greg,
the handsome one,
the handsome other one. You know, he got to train under guys that were like world champions and the coolest, chillest dudes, which then kind of circles around to how we met. Another cool dude. Carry on.
So story might not be quite as cool. No, it's funny. Greg posted a picture, and you know how in like the world of Instagram, someone reshares it. And it was the picture of him in his police uniform, like the SWAT gear, and then also side by side with him in his gi. And I think it was like one of the big jiu-jitsu brands or something posted that. It wasn't Vida Jiu Jitsu.
I think Shoyoroll.
So yeah, one of those. So one of those.
Shoyoroll gi, and I think Shoyoroll.
I didn't know who you were, and then I saw that picture, and then being a cop myself and a jiu-jitsu guy, I was like, oh, that's a pretty cool picture.
Maybe New Stefion.
Yeah, I don't remember. But anyways, I clicked it and I was like, and then just started following him. I was like, oh, this dude seems pretty cool. And I remember I commented at one point in time, like, bro, whenever I'm in the South, I'm going to come down and check out your academy. It'd be cool. And then fast forward, 2 years, I'm at one of my best friend's house in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. And in walks this motherfucker.
Because he was in one of my best friend's house in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho.
So we didn't know we had a mutual friend that's like a straight homie. And we were both at his house at the same time. I'm like, the fuck are you doing here? He's like, what the fuck are you doing here? And then it was just a bromance after that.
Yep.
So it's been good.
I was there.
Yeah,
I saw everything.
That's how I met Joao. Joao owns Electric Jiu Jitsu in Huntington Beach, and it's a Checkmat affiliate. Checkmat is a massive international Jiu Jitsu team affiliation. Greg owns Electric Jiu Jitsu North, and which is a Checkmat gym, and I own Vida Jiu Jitsu, which is a Checkmat gym. And turns out Greg and I worked for the same company, really back in the same years, just in different AOs, and never met. We both worked for Triple Canopy, contracting overseas.
And so we had mutual friends through that. That's how he knows Seth. And yeah, it was just funny how that all came together.
Now we're all here with ugly ears, choking each other and shooting guns.
And, I know it's coming.
My ears are okay.
Just to circle back around though, and touch on like the jiu-jitsu world with Joao and Marcus and like how I got immersed in all that. It's interesting because, you know, once you're in that environment and you're training with those guys, I always describe it as, you know, where you aren't. You know, there's levels to this game, and I'm not there. And the reality is, I'll never be there. But my students back at my academy, I think I've told you guys this story before. They'll ask me like, so when you roll with like Joao or you roll with Marcus, and you know, let's say you roll 10 times, do you win 5 and they win 5, or
look at him?
Kind of. If he's feeling really nice. And I was like, just to fucking like, and because they're white belts and I'm a black belt that can just do whatever I want to them, I'm basically like a Bochecha, you know? Yeah. And I was like, I'm not going to even attempt to ride this, because if he hears about it,
smash you even harder.
I said, let me just put this out here. Let me
you don't play with.
Yeah. Let me clarify. Let me clarify this right now. I said, if I'm rolling with Marcus or Joao, if I roll 100 times, I get submitted 100 times by whatever the fuck they want. That's the reality of it. There's levels to this. There's black belts. Like I like to think of myself as a pretty good black belt. And then there's black belts that eat black belts like me and make us feel like white belts. Like that's just the guys at the top of the game are at a level that, like Joao said, it's the Michael Phelps of jiu-jitsu, you know? So, but that's good though. I mean, I reached one time in my jiu-jitsu career where I thought I was pretty badass. And that's when I was a new brown belt outside of Seattle, because I was smashing everyone in my gym and I did some MMA fights. And I was like, dude, I'm a fucking pretty tough dude. And then I realized, no, you just weren't fighting guys that are real tough dudes.
No matter how tough you are, man, there is always somebody tougher than you.
Yeah, no joke.
But it's a good lesson because like that's what keeps you hungry. That's what keeps you training, you know? Like,
and that's what keeps you, more importantly, from being an asshole and inconsiderate to people. Because look, we got a bunch of pretty tough dudes in this room, and I'm definitely not at the top of that toughness, you know, like, but here's the thing. We all know our pecking order in here. We all know our pecking order. And he's at the top, right? We all know that. He's at the top.
Jiu-jitsu, with the gi on, with the set of rules, you know.
Yeah, bullshit. You
bullshit.
still have to not know
With the gun,
I'd
the
have to
hand,
shoot you
it's a
across the
problem.
table.
yeah, if this was like 2,000 years ago, we'd be plowing your field. Here you go.
Yeah, exactly. You give us a little slice of bread.
Earlier, he was talking about doing some stuff tomorrow with a gun or a blue gun.
Yeah,
Right,
sure.
like,
Shooting, you know.
How does this all relate to? I mean, concealed carry or whatever. Like,
Oh, we gotta take it back from jiu-jitsu.
Yeah,
okay.
I know it sucks.
yeah.
I mean, how
No,
does it
but
all?
I'm
how
bringing
does
it right
all
back into
relate?
jiu-jitsu,
Right,
ready?
exactly. How does it all relate? Right.
So it all relates. And you know, I was listening to Greg's last episode of Endless Endeavor the other day, and you hear someone else?
I think that was Brandon.
Oh, you better keep it down over there.
The
Concealed Nation.
episode 2 on like it was you had a new gun owner on. And you were going
One of
through-
your black belts, right?
Yep. Okay.
And I've said this for years. I teach pistol courses to civilians, and I teach an entangled gunfighting course, basically that is dealing with what's called contact or point blank distance range, meaning contact where we can hug each other, point blank we can shake hands or punch each other, right? And I'll sit down with a group of guys in a room, and they're all, you know, wearing their, you know, let God sort them out t-shirts, and, you know, Till Valhalla and all these badass t-shirts and Molly backpacks and pouches and you name it.
Skull.
And chest, you know, really looking tough, dude. And the thing is if I tried to rob them within arm's reach and they try to pull a gun out, I'm going to take that gun from them and I'm going to beat them to death with it. And I'm not even trying to bolster. And, you know, he can do the same thing even on another level. He can do the same thing on another level. And people get a gun and they think that gun solves all the problems. And they think, oh, well, if I can shoot a gun, it's going to fix everything. And that couldn't be further from the truth. You know, I have something called being the complete combatant. And being a complete combatant is not just your firearm skills, but your physical fitness and your hand skills, your combative skills, your situational awareness skills, you know, your medical and trauma skills, et cetera, et cetera. There's a whole thing that goes into it. So people get a gun and they start packing heat and they think that's the solution for every problem.
So that's how it relates.
So go train jiu-jitsu.
So go.
But then you learn
Preferably at
jiu-jitsu, right?
a
And then
match,
one
yeah.
day you learn jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, and jiu-jitsu is a superpower. It really is. And
I see this way, man, because I'm a civilian. I never been into the military, never been a cop. And I'm from Brazil, which is a place where you cannot have a gun. And then end up here in America, right? Living the dream. I never thought jiu-jitsu as the travel the world, this and that. I never thought, man, because it didn't exist that in my time, you know? I used to see the surfers. And I'm like, bro, I want to go around the world. I want to, you know, like, and how, you know? And then jiu-jitsu start happening, right? Jiu-jitsu start like opening when 2007 the first world championship became in American soil, right? It came to California, and I came here and I was wow, I saw the whole American dream could be happening, you know. And of course, I didn't come to stay. I came here to fight. Then I stayed back and forth for a while to have opportunity. I have a job here to stay, and everything. And then I saw that I could have with the type of visa I had. I could have a gun, you know. So I was like, wow, why not? You know, if I can, let's see. And I was because of jiu-jitsu, I always been around like cops and military people, right? That's because in my opinion, the best cops train jiu-jitsu. You know what I mean? Like the best military people knows jiu-jitsu, right? And I have opportunity to go overseas a few times with the military, teaching troops overseas. I went all over Pacific, all over Middle East. I went to Afghanistan, and I had like some really nice experience. And one thing I can tell you is like you can shoot forever, right? I mean, one time you're gonna run out of ammo, all right? But it doesn't happen with jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu is on you, right? If you need 24 hours working for you, it's just switch it's just turn the switch and you're ready for war, you know. And I think that's where it comes together, you know. I mean, because as a fighter, I mean, you of course you're in a war zone, you have to shoot and stuff, but like Greg said, sometimes it happens too fast, it's too close, and you have no training for that. Right. You know what I mean? You gotta come from your skills, right? And that's when jiu-jitsu kicks in, you know, and you end up on top, you end up, you know, choking someone, you end up winning a situation, you know. And that's, I think, where it comes together with the whole military, the whole gun, the concealment thing with the fight, you know, about being a fighter. So at the end of the day, I think is that's the way, you know. Like I think the best guy is gonna always do, you know. Like I was even talking to a friend the other day, which is you know, you remember Pete Zarconi?
Yeah. Yep.
Bro, he's like high, he's like big on the LAPD, you know. He's my student, he's a black belt under John Jackson Machado, and he was telling me, he's like, man, the cops need Greg back. That's like one guy they cannot lose. You know what I mean? Like a guy with those skills, with that mentality, bro. You need them. You know, you need people like that. You need like fighters, like on the whole sense of the word. You know what I mean? Not just a guy with a gun, with authority, with reinforcing the law. You know, but a guy exactly, a guy who has all the you know, the morals and the ethics and the work ethics. And put together. So it's a guy who doesn't need a gun to be tough. He's a guy who doesn't need a gun to fix a problem or to end up an altercation or a fight. You know what I mean? He's a guy who you don't gonna see on the TV choking someone to death. You know what I mean? So it comes along. You know what I mean? I think at the end of the day, a fighter, like Greg just says, like a complete fighter. You know, you have to handle yourself. You have to cover your own ass, you know, the whole time. So I think that's when things come together.
We got a question.
Got a question.
Thoughts on Krav Maga?
I've never trained Krav Maga, so I mean, I can't really give much of a like factually based opinion about Krav Maga. The only thing that I'll say is this, because I've had coworkers that have trained Krav Maga, and they told me that they don't spar at a real level, a realistic.
They pull
100%.
They pull and they slow motion.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I always tell people this, in my personal opinion, and maybe I'm biased because I love jiu-jitsu and I own a jiu-jitsu academy, but jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, wrestling, Western boxing, the arts to where when you're training, it's simulating a real fight. It feels real, and it is real. I've had my nose broken more times than I can count in training. And so that gives you instant realistic feedback of what works, what doesn't work, where you're safe, where you're in danger. And the reality of training where you don't get that realistic feedback is, sure, you may be able to throw a punch or you may be able to kick a bag, but what happens when your head gets bounced off the ground and blood's rushing out of your nose? I can tell you what's going to happen. That panic's going to set in.
Right.
And realistic hard training, one of the biggest parts that you gain from training is you can be calm when you're getting your ass kicked. And I know that sounds weird, but you can have a guy on top of you, mounting you, who's better than you. So you get that fight or flight response kicking in, right? But you can't get away from the guy and you can't beat him in a fight. So now what? And if you don't learn how to handle yourself when you're facing those emotions in a training environment, good luck being able to contain those emotions in some dark alley when you're calling for backup and your radio battery just popped out and now you're fucked. And so, and I'm not here to talk like shit on any of the other arts. Like if you're a Krav Maga guy or you're a Taekwondo guy, all that stuff is training and it's good. And I encourage people to do that. But I would say if you're part of an art where you're not getting any type of real sparring, go to somewhere where you can get that and then apply your art in a full contact state and kind of see where it goes, see what works and what doesn't work. Cause then you're going to get more realistic feedback.
Yeah. Agreed 100%.
Yeah. I did Krav Maga for like 6 months before I moved to the North Shore.
Mm-hmm.
It was fun. It was a good workout. It wasn't what walking into Vida was like you said, you can go 100%.
Yeah. I mean, there's a reason the best fighters in the world don't train Krav Maga and they train, boxing, kickboxing, wrestling, jiu-jitsu. Even if you want to look at it from a sport, mixed martial arts standpoint, which they're fantastic fighters. Yes, they're doing it in a cage with somewhat of a rule set, but guess what? Those fighters can still on the street gouge your eye out or bite you or smash your head in with a brick, and they can do it better than you can. Right. So there's a reason the best fighters in the world, they train Brazilian jiu-jitsu. They are wrestlers. They train boxing and kickboxing or Muay Thai,
And you know what else all those guys do is they maintain an elite level of fitness. Yeah. And that's something that, I mean, if you think you're a gunfighter, since we're going to take it back to guns,
right,
and away from jiu-jitsu, if you think you're a gunfighter and you don't have an elite level of fitness, you're doing yourself a disservice, because it's exactly what Greg said. A fight is a fight, and the range of that fight is going to determine what tool we use. So don't think of it as a gunfight versus a grappling fight. Think of it as a fight. And I tell new shooters that all the time, because I talked about it on my last podcast. You give a new shooter a gun, a lot of times they'll stand up all straight and they'll kind of pull their head back and just get this real weird stance. And you just push them and they're going to fall over, because everything that they're doing is like they're putting themselves in the least athletic position as possible. And some of these guys are wrestlers and fighters, guys that I've trained with, and I'll take them shooting and you see them start to do that. And then I'll be like, dude, how would you stand if you were about to shoot a double on someone? And then they get a good base, they get good foot placement. They kind of, they find their base. I say, now hold the pistol like that. And it instantly changes their perception of what a gunfighting stance is. Because in a gunfight, what do you need to be able to do? You need to be able to duck. You need to be able to cut an angle and sprint. You need to be able to jump. You need to be able to strike someone. You need to be able to do all the same things that you need to do in a fight, except you just have a gun in your hand. So for those of you guys that are listening that like you're primarily a sports shooter, or you enjoy like firearms as a hobby, if you're carrying a gun, it's almost an obligation to maintain some type of fitness, because if you don't have that fitness and you get in a gunfight, there's a good chance someone's just going to take it out of your hands and beat you to death with it.
A lot of people carry and they do not have any personal fitness whatsoever. And that comes up. Luke, you and I have talked about this, where people will, put yourself in the scenario of you have to draw a gun on somebody, but that person just tries to grab it. What do you do? What are you going to do? If you're not prepared for something like that, now you're fighting over this gun. And if that person wins, now you're in all sorts of trouble.
Right. Yeah. Y'all were talking about that in the back of the gym, like literally a couple hours ago.
So I teach a 1-day home defense course for civilians, open enrollment. And it's just basic one-man CQB. You find yourself in the worst situation you could ever find yourself in. Let's give you a couple little tips and tactics that you can utilize. And this past weekend, I had a gentleman, 58 years old, and took quite a few shooting courses, knew how to shoot, knew how to handle a gun pretty well, very out of shape, very overweight. And he knew that. And we started talking about this very topic right here. And he goes, man, I've relinquished to the fact that if I came up against someone like you, he's like, I'd never win. That's where I'm at in my life. I said, no, that's bullshit. That's a bullshit excuse. I have a 58-year-old in my gym who's a blue belt in my gym. He's 58 years old, and the dude is an absolute monster of a blue belt. The dude is a monster. He beats up guys. He beats up these kids, same rank, that are a third his age. And so I asked the gentleman this weekend, I said, it'll take some time for you to get in shape. Huh? He goes, yeah, it takes too much time. I'm not in shape. I said, it would take some time for you to get good at jiu-jitsu. And he goes, yeah, I mean, it would take a lot of time. I said, let me ask you that. You said you're overweight. You said you're fat and out of shape now, right? He goes, yeah. I said, did that happen overnight? And I got kind of a blank stare. I said, it took some time to get there, huh?
Mhm.
It took months and years of eating poorly and not exercising enough for you to become there, right? Well, guess what? It can go the other way.
Mhm.
And the time is
And it can
now.
start now.
Get in the gym. I don't care if you're overweight. I don't care if you get winded during warm-ups and you got to sit around out, because every day you get better.
And the reality of it is, this sounds almost kind of cliche to say, but you don't need to be chasing a world championship or some Olympic level fitness. You need to just be a better version of yourself. And as long as you can continue to do that, I mean, that was George St. Pierre's thing. He's like, my only goal is to be a better martial artist tomorrow than I am today.
Yep.
That's it.
And apply that.
And
every
if you
day.
apply that to your health and your nutrition, it's like, yeah, it might be very small baby steps, but eventually you're going to get to where you want to be.
I don't even think that takes that much because, bro, I teach people, right, that never trained before. And like when they train like normally, like 3 times a week, they start like they start like feeling jiu-jitsu, they start liking jiu-jitsu, start going, right? But they're not pros, they have their lives, they try do a little better diet here and there and stuff. But bro, 3 months, they're beating up anyone that comes new to the gym.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It takes 3 months of okay training to become a 2 steps ahead of the
Better
whole
than 90%
pack.
of the people out there. Yeah,
it takes 3 months, bro. 1 year. And I'm not talking about like lifting and dieting like a crazy. Just being a normal, cool guy.
3 hours a week.
3 hours a week, bro. You go there, have fun, ask questions about, like things about jiu-jitsu, this and that. And that just add to your life. You know what I mean? Like, it's serious, bro. Don't take like more than 3 months to step over the rest of the pack.
Yeah.
It's like 1 year you just change your life like forever, bro. You know what I mean? It's like if you don't get into jiu-jitsu, at least you learn what it takes. You know what I mean? So you're gonna step. You're not stepping into fights because you know what's up. You know what I mean? So you're saving your ass just by knowing what it takes. You know what I mean? And if you keep going, bro, eventually you become very good without much intention. You don't have to be like, no man, I'm gonna be the next Van Damme. No, you don't have to. You just go there, have fun. Like
New friends.
Exact, make new friends, get a new habit of going to the gym and training and learning things you didn't know before. Few weeks later, you're already moving much better than you did your whole life, right?
Yep.
And in few months, you're already fighting guys that would beat you up in other eyes. You know what I mean? So I think is you don't even have to take that serious, because the thing jiu-jitsu really works. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, it's life-changing.
Exactly.
It's a superpower.
And,
So-
and something else I'd like to just kind of piggyback off
Go
of
ahead.
that is, like Joao said, you don't have to be at the gym lifting weights, and you don't have to be at the track running sprints. But I'm sure all you guys get new people all the time that's like, man, I want to try jiu-jitsu, but I want to get in shape first. I don't know how many times I've heard that.
Yeah.
And
I've had several members of mine that said it, and I looked at them like, I'm like, so you're gonna send your kid to the 4th grade next year, right?
yeah,
Right, little Bobby over there. No, you shouldn't send him to 4th grade. You got to get him smarter before he goes to 4th grade. And then they look at me like this. I said, see, that sounds pretty fucking stupid, doesn't it? I said, this is fitness.
yeah, it is.
Every
Right.
time you're on the mat, you're getting fitter.
Yep. And that alone, training jiu-jitsu and doing nothing else, is going to improve your strength and your cardiovascular fitness. And then also your technique comes with that. So that's why a lot of people, once they start training jiu-jitsu, they get hooked, because it's like all encompassing in one art.
It's addictive. So
Yep.
I'm gonna take a swing at Jessica's question.
Well, for
quick.
real quick, I was 38 when I started? 39? I'm 41 now. So is it 2 or 3? How long have y'all been open?
We've
2
been
years.
open a little over 2 years.
Yeah. So I started when I was 39.
Yeah. So Jessica,
and I
my
was
wife,
out of shape.
You were very out of shape.
Greg has
You
a
were-
picture that he really likes to show.
Yeah,
the
you were
first
a
class.
fat little pig.
You have
dude.
that before and after.
Man,
that.
you gotta
You
see
did that,
it,
man?
bro. He's
You
like
did
a
that?
fat- oh, dude, I did it, bro.
I won't
I'm gonna show you the
I won't
picture.
say what Jeremy called me. But
Yeah, I'm gonna pull it up, but it was hilarious.
And before you answer, Jessica, I'm also 39, and I don't feel like
are you?
I
elderly?
fall into the elderly.
One more year though.
Not quite
One more
yet.
year,
Yeah,
40,
yeah.
right?
Yeah,
No, I mean,
I'm
I have
gonna
a-
be
I have a new
42 in
white
couple
belt.
months.
I have a new white belt that's 63 years
Yeah,
old.
you've got
Yeah, me
we've
too.
got
Yeah,
a few older.
my
guys.
boy Ed, he's my favorite
Yeah,
too. He's
Ed
60.
Vampire.
He's 63 years old, dude. White belt. He's about to get his second stripe.
Mhm.
And if you're watching this, right, you got to show me a few things, bro. I told you about, and he's gonna get that second. But dude, he's in there,
Yep.
and you know what? He's in there for him.
Yeah.
He's not like every day, like he comes in twice a week, 3 times a week, loves it, trains hard, does a good job learning. You know,
And
And
it's-
I always tell people this they ask like, am I too old to train or this hurts or that hurts? And I injured my neck when I was younger. This is the reality of jiu-jitsu. When you train jiu-jitsu, you're going to get banged up. You're going to have injuries. Sometimes you're going to get hurt, but you have to train in a manner that works for you and your body. And like training at a pace that maybe you're nursing a bad knee or whatever, you're still going to get better training than sitting on your couch saying, I can't train because I got a bad knee.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are reluctant to train because of this or because of that. And at the end of the day, you have to work with what you have, you know? And I mean, some people that might even just be walking, just depending on their body and their ailments and whatnot.
right. We're getting questions like, what about people in wheelchairs or elderly or disabled? I mean,
all right, yeah. So
if you can't, go ahead.
well, no, I got a buddy who's a triple amputee, both legs amputated above the knee. He's missing his right arm. And he's a purple belt, and he's on the mat every day.
That one hand kills you.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And the
For
dude,
real.
the guy's a monster. His one arm,
I wonder how
his
that
half
one arm, that one hand,
his neck and head pressure.
it might be
The
scary,
guy's a
bro.
monster.
Seriously.
And you know what? That's his thing. And the dude's an awesome dude. And you know, Jessica going, 39, you feel sort of dumb to just go and yeah, you know what? You're gonna feel a little dumb. You're gonna be intimidated, you're gonna be scared. And you know what? That's good. Because adults don't do that shit anymore. Adults don't get out of their comfort zone anymore. Right? We get comfortable in our career, in our lives, in our homes, in our friends, in our family. And we don't feel that fear, that the butterflies in our stomach of the first day at kindergarten. My wife was never ever interested in any of this stuff. She's 4'11". She's a tiny little thing, and she never had any interest in jiu-jitsu for all the years that I did it. We opened up the academy, and she said, "Well, if we're going to do this, I need to at least give it an honest try." She trains like almost every single day. She just got her blue belt. And she is taking new guys in the gym that come in. And we're talking like full-grown 180, 190-pound, 6-foot men, and is able to sweep them and flip them over and hold them down. And you see this grown man struggling to get out from my little tiny 4'11" wife. But we all started. Every one of us started in the same place. So
Also, if she was fighting someone who doesn't train, she would be killing those dudes, right?
killing 'em.
Yep.
Exactly. Like that's how powerful thing get.
I always tell people like, because if you come to practice, and I have some female athletes that I do pair up with people that are new, because I think that's a pretty powerful lesson. And I'm not trying to shit on their ego or like take away from their manhood, but when you get beat up by a 21-year-old girl as a 45-year-old man, that's kind of a reality
That's
check.
what sold me.
But I always tell people,
There you go.
I always tell people
Where's
this.
the camera?
It's not right there.
If what you're looking for is an art that really works, then the fact that this 21-year-old girl
question.
can kick your ass, that proves what we're doing here is real.
Right.
If you came in off the streets and didn't know jiu-jitsu and were able to handle people in the gym that have been training for 2, 3, 4 years, what would be the point of training jiu-jitsu? You know? So
I know you skipped that last question.
Which one?
Set up for a reason.
I was brought here, Scott. I want to address your question too, because Scott's
did
got a
he
really
put one
good
up?
question.
Yeah.
But this question right here, I was invited here tonight with the assumption this was a concealed carry info podcast. It's starting to sound like an infomercial for gym memberships. Man, how do I go into this without completely offending you, Kevin? You're not to like toot our own horns, but you're looking at a group of guys that have spent a lifetime, a career, over 2 decades individually in self-defense, military special operations, law enforcement special operations, guys who have really, really been in fights for real. And I'm not talking about a schoolyard fight when you were in 6th grade. I'm not talking about the barroom fight, when you were a teenager. I'm talking about fighting legitimate opponents, legitimate bad guys, legitimate terrorists, right? And part of concealed carry is the total package of being able to apply and implement that weapon, which specifically for concealed carry is a pistol, in a fight for your life responsibly to not hurt other people. And a big, big part of that, look, and I'm speaking to you I'm not trying to sell you a gym membership. All right. I don't think you probably even live in my area. I can direct you to a good gym if you would like to, though. But I can tell you from having been in real gunfights, all right, I can tell you for having to fight for my life with a guy who pulled a gun on me, and we fought over the gun. And the only thing that I believe this day that saved my life was I had jiu-jitsu, all right? You got to have the total package if you're going to carry a gun. If you're going to carry a gun and potentially use that in a life or death situation, you cannot be grossly out of shape. You cannot only rely on marksmanship skills that you gain once a month at your indoor range shooting a paper target. It's a whole package. And if you don't realize that, you don't understand that, you don't seek that out and to better yourself daily, in my opinion, you're being grossly negligent.
I think if you look behind the guys here, you can see like 20 guns, and these guys own these guns, and they are telling you that only those guns don't gonna help you. They're gonna save your life. It might create you. It might even give you a problem if somebody take the gun from you. You know what I mean? It might use against you. So, man, I think it's a whole training. It's a whole training. It's like cops. You know what I mean? Cops cannot just shoot. Right. They have to learn how to fight. They have to learn a little bit of trying to understand, like the psychology of people and try to escalate things and don't create gunfights everywhere they go. You know what I mean? So it's the whole thing together. You know what I mean? It's not like just jiu-jitsu or just the gun or just eating right or just lifting. I think it's the whole combination of factors that put you in a comfort zone. You know what I mean? Put you on a safe zone. You know, you have to train. You have to learn things. You have to not just rely buy a gun and ammo and think that I'm good now. You know what I mean? Like ammo doesn't gonna last forever. Anyways, so you have to cover yourself. So.
And I think we're preaching fitness and jiu-jitsu and fighting, but not only for the fact that you may find yourself in a situation where you have to apply that. But I can tell you from experience, and I'm not too embarrassed to say this, your fitness in a gunfight isn't only for sprinting to cover or carrying your buddy downstairs. And it depends. There's different situations. I've been in engagements where a dude popped up from behind a building and boom, you're in a gunfight. But I've also been in situations where you see a guy, he ducks behind a wall, and you're trying to see where he's going, and then you see that now he's behind a car and he's a little closer. Well, how the fuck did he get to that car? And I can tell you the adrenaline dump when a guy is maneuvering on you, and I'm aware of this and I'm watching this, and I have an AR-10. This was in Ramadi, Iraq. These dudes are doing the same thing that we're doing, and it gets real fast. And I don't care. I was with a bunch of Delta dudes and Rangers and Navy SEALs, and the amount of adrenaline, I was actually embarrassed because I was trying to get a sight picture on the guy. and I was trembling, and like when your arms are shaking just a little, your fucking optic is dancing around just like this, right? Yeah. And that's an Army Ranger deployed to Iraq with special operations. Yeah. If you think that you're going to be at the mall and an active shooter is going to fucking start shooting people in the back of the Target store, and you're just going to pull your gun and you're going to go and maneuver on this guy and it's all good, you're kidding yourself. It's fucking the biggest adrenaline dump. You're breathing hard, your heart rate spikes, and maintaining fitness helps pull 100%. That back. 100%. Even if it's this much.
100%. You know? Kevin, I'm glad you commented back, because I don't honestly, and I can speak, I think, for Greg and Joao, that we don't expect any of our audience ever that we're speaking to reach our levels, right? This is something that we've dedicated our life to. And yes, we maybe take it to the next level, and we're extremely passionate about it. But one of the reasons we're so passionate about it is because we know from seeing it what it can do for you guys. Joao already spoke 3 months of jiu-jitsu, and that's 3 days a week. So that's 1 hour class, 3 days a week. Guys in his gym are just annihilating and training brand new people that walk in. So if you go to an Anytime Fitness or some 24-hour fitness, 3 days a week and walk on the treadmill, use that time at a jiu-jitsu gym instead. Get that exercise and start training, because you know what? You're going to meet other concealed carry enthusiasts. You're going to meet law enforcement officers. You're going to meet military guys. A lot of guys in my gym, heck, tomorrow we're not training jiu-jitsu.
Right.
We're going shooting. We're going to the range tomorrow. And we're going shooting. Right. And then Saturday we'll be in the gym training jiu-jitsu. So we don't expect you to ever reach our level. Obviously some of the young kids that we're pushing are, but it's never too late. Going back to the 63-year-old student that Greg has, the 63-year-old student that I have, they started this at those ages. And again, Greg said, be a better version of yourself. Be a complete combatant, right? Don't just rely on the gun. So, man, you don't have to be me. You don't have to be these guys, but you can be better tomorrow than you are today. And you can be better the next day than you are tomorrow. It will change your life. I promise you. You'll come back and you'll send us a message in 3 months going, man, Greg, I'm sorry for that first comment, dude. You know
what I've been seeing lately, bro, is like because of this George Floyd thing, and then people saying like, well, how are we going to stop people to killing, right? And bro, 99% of the people saying like, wow, cops should train jiu-jitsu. You know what I mean? I haven't seen people saying like, no, cops should shoot more or shoot extra or get better guns or this or that. I just see like 99% of the people say like, no, cops should train jiu-jitsu in a normal basis, like have their skills test once a year. You know what I mean? I heard cops only have to shoot 60 rounds to be a cop every year, something like that.
It's depending either once a year or twice a year, depending on the state.
Ridiculous, bro.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like it's less than be a blue belt. You know what I mean? It's like ridiculous. So I think like the whole world is talking about this now, and I think what makes more sense on people's words, and it's cops should be training jiu-jitsu. Not like martial arts, karate, taekwondo. No, jiu-jitsu, because karate, martial taekwondo, you don't learn the 100% that takes to stop someone or get stopped, right? Because when you learn, once you become you're better on doing those things, even shooting, right? It takes, and you become a better person, even not just the part of holding people and securing them, but also de-escalating the situation, right? Because now you're not breaking people. You don't need like 6 guys to put one person down. One guy, maybe 2, fix the problem without much violence. You know what I mean?
Or injury to them.
Exactly. So like, I think it's obvious, like that's the way things are going, and that's why we're talking so much about jiu-jitsu, because I think we know the magic. We see the magic happening every day, changing people's lives, So I think it's not We're not trying to sell memberships, right? We're trying to give a solution. Stop complaining and come up with solutions for people that carry guns, for cops that need more training, holding people and stopping people without killing them or shooting them. And I think that all goes towards that way.
And you know what else is a big part of training for police officers? Not only how to apply it, how to hold someone down. Because when people think of cops training jiu-jitsu, they think of, okay, he's going to be able to choke this guy, or he's going to be able to mount this guy. But the other side of the coin is, I know what it's like for him to have his knee on my face. And that's an important lesson. I know what bad positions feel like. Yeah. And I know from personal experience that I don't want to be underneath someone's knee for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. Right. And so not only do you know how to apply it, but you know where it's at from the other side of it, the receiving end, where is dangerous.
You can responsibly apply it.
Exactly.
Can you see Scott's question?
What should you look for in picking a class
or an instructor
or gym or
something that I always tell people, and I'll let Joao go off on this because he's a much higher level instructor than I am. But one of the most important things that I think you need to find with an instructor is somebody that you just mesh with, somebody that you just, when you meet them and you talk with them, you realize like, I feel comfortable around this person. I get a good vibe off this person. The jiu-jitsu is going to come, right? But you want to have that immediate vibe with that person. And when people come into my academy, I tell them I have no contracts, I have no cancellation fees, and I even encourage you to check out the other gyms in the area.
Same here.
Because I want a team. I want a team of guys that want to share these mats with me and my guys. And the only way that you're really going to know that this place is for you is to go do your homework, read up on the different academies, go meet the different guys, shake their hands, talk to them about their program, talk to them about like the financial aspects, all the things that are important to you, and then take all that information. It might be 2, 3, 4 gyms and go home and see what works for your family, your schedule, and your needs. And I think that's the most responsible way to go about it.
Find a place that you like being at. Otherwise, trust me, jiu-jitsu is hard enough. You're not going to want to, you're not going to go.
I agree. Vibes speaks louder when it's time to find a place to stay, you know what I mean? To invest your money, your time, like it really about the vibe. Mm-hmm. If you feel like Greg just said, like comfortable around the person, around that group of people, right? Because you're going to be on a group class. Find out what they offer, see what if they offer what your level needs, like if they have a good white belts programs, how they treat the white belts, and experience yourself.
Sorry about that. Whoops.
I thought you were tech guys.
Yeah.
It just like literally reset.
That's something I would do.
Reset.
That's what I say about computers.
But it just Greg touched it. Greg looked at my iPad. There was a question from somebody that I wanted to post.
Can I put one up real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
If you guys want to touch on this. I mean, we have 2 people here with experience and
go ahead. You can reset it.
Melissa's asked this question twice, and I don't know, like I said, if you guys want to touch on it, but about the police departments banning the use of chokeholds, which some have already done, and then she's talking about New York's new law of not being able to put body weight on the diaphragm, and I'm wondering what from a law enforcement perspective, having that experience, is that a big deal when something like that is taken away, or you're just like, no big deal, there are other ways to handle somebody that we're trying to.
It's such a big deal that my department that I formerly worked for, they just banned chokeholds, and it's such a big deal to me that I would have quit over that if I still worked for them. And this is why. Yes, George Floyd was murdered by a police officer. I think most cops would agree what we saw there was atrocious, and it was outside of policy, and it was unreasonable, and the guy's in jail because of it, and he's probably going to get charged or found guilty of murder. Mm-hmm. Because that happened, that has nothing to do with banning LVNRs or rear naked chokes or whatever you want to call them on the streets. And I'll tell you why. Because when applied properly, an LVNR or rear naked choke is one of the fastest ways to control a violent subject and with little to no injury. And so you put a guy out, you put him in cuffs, then you seat it, you get him in the recovery position, or you put him in the back of your patrol car, and everybody goes home and everybody's safe, including the suspect, and everybody's free of injury. You start to take away tools like that. Well, what's our next option? Okay. What are you going to do now if you can't use jiu-jitsu when somebody's attacking you? Well, am I going to go to my taser? Am I going to go to my baton? Like, what are my options here? Do you want me to break this guy's jaw? You want me to just punch him in the face as hard as I can? Like, I don't hear departments talking about banning strikes to the face, but they're banning the choke. And I would ask anybody that's listening right now, would you rather A, stand there and get punched in the face by me as hard as you could, or B, allow me to put you to sleep with a chokehold and then the exercise is complete? Which one do you choose? And I say the same thing to, like, because these knee-jerk reactions aren't coming down from anyone within the law enforcement community. It's
or
political
training.
Yeah, or with any training. It's political pressure that's coming down from mayors and city council members that have never been in a fight, that don't have any jiu-jitsu experience, that don't know how to shoot a gun. And I can tell you from experience, by taking away the tools that are down here, you're going to make a higher likelihood that people are going to go and escalate faster. By taking away jiu-jitsu from police officers, you're going to see more people get shot.
More excessive uses of force.
Sure.
You know,
That's how I see it too, man.
Yeah, 100%.
Also, the way I see it, I think like this: like the law, they're gonna change the fight, right? You know what I mean? The law, because now you can do this, you can do that. The law, they're gonna change the fight. If you have to choke someone to save your skin, you will choke, and problem's gonna happen anyways. You know what I mean? I believe training would be the key, you know,
and more training, not taking it away.
So more chokes would happen, less people would die, less gunfights would happen, and the world would be a better place. You know what I mean? But training, you know, specific training for cops, you know what I mean? With focus on holding people, even choking people, because you have to learn, like Greg just says, like, bro, you have to understand both points. You know what I mean? If you know how much hurts, you don't gonna do that way, because, you know, at the end of the day, you're a father of family. You want to come back home. You don't want to go from that fight to the jail because you just kill a guy. You know what I mean? Because you didn't have training enough. You know what I mean? I'm pretty sure those guys who kill suspects choking, they don't train jiu-jitsu. No. You know what I mean? I'm pretty sure they don't train jiu-jitsu, because if they do, they would do different. You know what I mean? Like, you clearly can see when the guy knows what he's doing, how smooth things just happen, how easy it looks like, right? And those dudes who doesn't know, things just look harder because they are, and things escalate to the point where there's no comeback, you know, there's no return point.
And, you know, Greg mentioned the LVNR, and it's the lateral vascular neck restraint, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
what's that?
Methylone, rear naked choke. Yeah. Right. So I'll say this, you know, when we're in the gym training, we're training extremely hard. And if I get caught in any sort of joint submission, an arm bar, knee bar, you know, anything that's affecting one of my limbs or joints, man, I'm tapping fast and in a hurry, as quick as I can, right? But the chokes are so safe that literally that's the one thing that I will fight and fight and fight and fight and fight and fight. I got put out twice the other day, like out, coming back, you know, because like I know, like I'll go to sleep for a second, I come back up and I'm fine, and I'll go another round. I'm ready to go, like right away. Because if you know how to do it, you know how to apply it, you know how to release it, and it's really safe, you know. But like Greg said, you know, ignorant people are making these demands and these changes.
And a big thing that I don't think people think about is being highly trained at all aspects of policing, with your firearm, with your less than lethal tools, and with just hand-to-hand combat. You start to find yourself de-escalating more often than you're escalating, because you put off the vibe to people And I was always respectful of people when I was on patrol, even shitheads. Like, I'm here to be cool to you until you give me a reason not to be, right? But if you're confident in who you are and your abilities, and you know if this goes sideways, okay, I'll be able to handle myself.
You're gonna win.
Yeah. If you believe that in your heart,
right,
then the interaction leading up to that point can be completely kind and respectful. And I've had dudes that are like, I had one guy, he was all methed out and he was tweaking, but his ears looked worse than mine. So I knew right away, okay, this dude's, yeah. And he started doing this kind of stuff, like poster child for pre-assault indicators, right? And so I said, hey, bro, look, it looks like you're getting ready to throw down. If you want to fight, I'll fucking fight you right now. I enjoy fighting as much as you do. I can tell by your ears, right? So I'm down to scrap if that's where you want to take this. Or we can just be cool to each other too. I'm not even here to get you in trouble. It was a criminal trespassing.
Yeah.
I was just going to get him out of there, right? I said, so if you're cool with me, I'm cool with you. Or if you want to fucking throw down and beat the fuck out of each other, we can go that route too. I'm leaving it up to you. And he's like, man, I've never had a cop just shoot me straight like that, bro. That's fucking cool, man. You're cool. And I was like, well, I'm not cool, but I'm just telling you, like, we can be cool or we can fucking fight.
Right.
And if you're confident in that, and my partner was like, you know, he didn't want any of this guy. And it's just having the confidence to just shoot people straight. You know where you stand, you know where they stand. And he was a collegiate wrestler. So because I started talking to him afterwards and being cool with him, right? And I was like, yeah, that dude would fucking maul every other cop in my department.
Yep.
Right. And so if you approach that guy like a dick for no reason,
then it's on.
And he's probably going to double leg you and dump you on your head on the concrete.
Yep.
Or because you're confident in who you are and what you bring to the table, you can use that to actually de-escalate and prevent shit from happening in the first place.
Right. He also might take you down, but you choke him.
Yeah, exactly. So he's gonna give up his back because he's a wrestler. Right. Yeah, he's gonna give his back up.
For sure, you choke him again.
Okay,
that's what happened.
It's okay, but you have a better jiu-jitsu.
End up choking that dude on the guillotine. That's what happened usually.
Yeah.
Straight up.
What are the prices for most classes? I've done wrestling and boxing, but would definitely be interested in more. Yeah, I mean, prices, junior banks, JR banks. It really depends on the area you live in. The different demographics are, obviously have a different cost of living and whatnot. So that really depends. Best bet is find out the gyms that are close to where you live or on your commute to and from work, and go pay them a visit. Go find out.
Yep.
I think it'd be safe to say $100 to $200 is probably.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I've seen.
Yep.
Both ends of it.
Like in Southern California, you're probably
$200
range around that. Up where I'm at, outside of Seattle, most gyms are 100 to low, like 125.
Yep.
So
we're right in the middle here.
Like anything else you would do, right? Like any membership
go shop around,
of anything.
go price,
right?
Yeah. Price.
And the other thing I'll say on that, like, in what industry on planet Earth is the cheapest usually the best?
None.
In this world, you get what you pay for.
That's it.
Exactly.
These mic stands are working out pretty good.
Are they shit?
Yeah.
I'm gonna make sure this one falls off.
Yeah. I'm
Prove
break
my
it.
point.
All good.
What do you got? You got other questions?
This is just back to what you were talking about before with the policies being made about the chokeholds and whatnot. And Todd says it's just like gun control, people making decisions with little to no understanding / expertise of the decisions that they're making. And that sounds about right.
Yeah. I mean, and that's been going on since the beginning of time, right? Like those type of that type of operating, like, got a lot of notoriety in Vietnam because you had guys from Washington telling guys in the jungle how to fight. And it's no different. Now you got guys in suits sitting in offices telling officers that are patrolling the streets of New York what they can and what they can't do. But I feel like the needle has moved even further now, because this is the first time it's no longer just a violation of policy. They're saying there will be charges. They will be charging them criminally.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I mean, I don't see how any police officer that works in those jurisdictions is even willing to go to work the next day. I mean, I get you got kids and you have a wife and you have your mortgage to pay, but if you're sitting in a cell because you mounted somebody, you're not going to be able to pay those bills either,
What did you just put up there?
I put it up there. I thought it was kind of funny. I think he's talking about just all the restrictions, and after a while, they're going to be like, all right, no more, no more chokeholds, no more tasers, no more guns,
pacifiers, suckers, and
Right.
I like it. Man, hell, not a lollipop.
It's just
Fiends like lollipops.
It's funny though, because it's like all of these people that are saying defund the police and ban chokeholds and you can't do this and you can't do that. I would hope that in their heart, the whole reason that they're speaking up and saying these things is because they want to see less violence. They want to see less people get hurt. They want to see less people get killed. But what they don't understand is by implementing these ideas that they have is going to cause the absolute opposite reaction.
Do no violence? Do no violence.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. So, do no violence. KNOW,
Do
right?
no violence.
You do no violence. NO violence. The most violent, the most capably violent people that I know are the nicest people and the least likely to get engaged in a serious violent encounter.
Well, and that brings up a good point that maybe people will appreciate hearing since it's not jiu-jitsu. If you're carrying a concealed weapon, that saying applies. And if you're carrying a concealed weapon, the biggest thing that you should be looking for is avoiding a confrontation and de-escalating confrontations. Mm-hmm. That should be pulling that weapon out. And in my opinion, if you're pulling that weapon out, if you're breaking leather, it's probably time to use it. Obviously, there's a million scenarios that you could paint where that may not be the case. But utilize a skill set to where you don't put yourself in a situation where you have to use that weapon. And that comes back to just awareness, having your head on the swivel, like all the things that I'm sure these guys talk about all the time. You maintain all those aspects of being tactical and just understanding your battle space. There's a good chance that you de-escalate or you prevent things from happening before they ever even occur.
Yeah.
You had the story about the guy that broke into your house.
Yeah.
Gun pointed at him.
Mm-hmm.
Shall we share
Could have
that?
shot him.
Shall we share that again?
I like
if you
that
want,
story.
I mean, could have shot him.
So
Didn't.
I heard that story for so many times.
Yeah,
I still love it.
Well, they didn't hear about this.
All right, so, I mean,
right?
I was actually a blue belt when this occurred.
And this is something like we would both cover in like a story on our website. So
this would be a
it's
breakdown.
interesting. Right.
So I get
a breakdown. Well,
This
we're
would be a
doing it
breakdown.
right now.
the girl I was living with at the time wakes me up and it was like 2:30 in the morning or something. She's like, Greg, a guy's breaking into the house. And I was like, okay, let's do this. And I had just redeployed home from a real bad deployment in Ramadi with a lot of violence and a lot of engagements. So as far as like where my head was at going and confronting somebody with violence, I was almost excited about it, And so, finally, let's go. So I came around the corner with my AR and I blasted him with my Surefire.
He lit him up with a white light.
And to this day, I don't understand. As soon as I did that, he's all, shoot me, motherfucker. Let's see you do it. I'm like, dude, he should be blinded. How does he know I'm not just holding a flashlight at his face, But he was telling me to shoot him and challenging me. And it became immediately apparent that the dude was, are we still on?
Yeah.
Okay. It became immediately apparent that the dude was either real high or blacked out drunk or a combination of the two. And I thought, I had that, like I said, I had my Surefire light on him. I could tell he didn't appear to be armed. He appeared to be highly intoxicated. And he didn't appear to be someone that I would have any type of difficulty restraining physically. So I was like, you know what? I'm not going to kill this guy. And I probably could have, right? I said, you know what? I'm just going to hand my weapon off. I told her to go back to her bedroom, call the police. And I used jiu-jitsu. And I had the guy unconscious in about 10 seconds. For you guys that are jiu-jitsu guys, I hit him with an arm drag into a rear naked.
Nice.
And then he was asleep in 7 seconds. Sat him down. I actually sat him down on the ground and sat behind him and put my hooks in. I didn't release the choke. I just loosened it so he could start breathing again. Like you said, when you're training, you're not going to hold a choke on someone for 10 minutes. And the police came and they arrested him. And this is what ended up happening. The guy had rented a room from the house that I was living in 5 years earlier. And his ID still had my address on it. So he went out and got real fucked up somewhere and he gave a cab driver his driver's license and said, "Take me home." And he ended up coming into my house because he thought that was his home.
Yeah.
So a little dumb mistake while being blacked out drunk almost cost that dude his life.
Yeah.
But why didn't it? Because if you're
You had
competent
training.
in your skills and you're able to analyze the situation and kind of like get big picture what's going on, I was able to say, you know what? I don't think, even though this guy's in my house, I don't think he's presenting a deadly threat. And I felt comfortable handling it with jiu-jitsu. So, and you know what? Like if I'd shot that dude, it would have sucked seeing how it all played out. The fact that he was just drunk and he was in the wrong house.
It would not have been good.
You know, but at the end of the day, it's on him.
Mess.
It's on him too.
Yeah,
you know,
100%. But
I don't want to do that to somebody.
having been through shootings in the U.S., they suck.
Yeah,
they suck. They try to ruin your life. They try to ruin your life, no matter how justified they are. And like I'm talking, like other guy with a gun shooting at you, empty casing, died with finger in the trigger, sort of thing. Like very, very clear shootings. And
should have just let him kill you next
I
time.
know,
Just
right?
let him kill you.
I know.
And you don't have to
mean,
deal with
that
all the
would've worked out
aftermath.
way better. But yeah, they try to ruin your life, even if you get through the good shooting.
And not only criminally, but then civilly.
Yeah,
You know?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
you have all that aftermath after you've been cleared criminally. So, yeah, let's not try to shoot people if we don't have to. I mean, if you're a concealed carrier, you know, if someone is stealing a pair of shorts and socks out of Walmart, that's none of your business, really. You know,
Like the ones we covered last week.
Yeah, exactly. Like, let it go. Be a good witness. Tell theft prevention or
Yep.
call 911. Be a good witness, but
Even
don't get involved.
at least for my department, even as a commissioned police officer, if I'm not on duty, our policy is if you observe a crime, you do not get involved unless somebody's at risk of death or serious bodily injury.
100%.
So if you see someone stealing a car, if you see someone, like you said, grabbing shit out of a store, even as a police officer, hey, let the people that are on duty in that jurisdiction handle that.
Yep.
Because what's going to happen is if you think you're a cop 24/7, you start fucking interjecting yourself into things when you have your kids with you and you're at Starbucks. It's just a recipe for disaster. So, and if you're carrying concealed, that same policy should apply. That's my policy when I'm carrying concealed. I'm not going to interject myself unless I feel that I am in fear for my life or the lives of others or serious bodily injury.
Yeah.
Outside of that, the weapon stays holstered and it's a non-issue.
Yep, 100%.
Let's talk about a recent thing that happened really quickly. It's on the same topic, and it's a little extreme example, but of what to do, what not to do when you're carrying a gun. And again, extreme example, but this guy, Luke, you know about this. I don't know if anyone else
The mask thing.
about this. Yeah, the guy
We
without
talked about
the mask.
earlier.
So basically, it was in a Walmart in Miami, Florida area, and this guy that's not wearing a mask, he's pushing an older gentleman in a wheelchair, and doesn't have a mask on. A guy with a mask confronts him about him not wearing a mask, and they got into this verbal argument. And then the guy without the mask he's carrying appendix. He draws his gun and points it at him and threatens to kill him.
That's a felony. That's how you end up in jail.
So everything from the story makes it sound that this person, he was legally carrying all of that stuff. So why on earth would he do something like that? So in the end, he leaves, gets in a car, takes off. Police, put his picture up from surveillance video, and they eventually caught up with him.
Aggravated assault.
What's that?
I said it's aggravated assault.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, in every state it's going to be different, but in Washington State, yeah, that's aggravated assault. And the reason is if you present a weapon and you display it in a manner where a person can they reasonably feel like that weapon is going to be used against them, then that's aggravated assault. So if I point my weapon at someone and say I'm going to kill you, everything has been met for that person to feel like you probably have the intent to kill them. And if that wasn't a crime, we would just allow people to point guns at people all the time and
Right.
threaten their lives. Like, of course that should be a crime. And that goes back to exactly what I said. Unless they're presenting some type of deadly threat or threat of serious bodily injury, the weapon does not, it's a non-issue.
Never known.
It's never known. Because if you pull that weapon out, and we've already touched on this several times, you're now interjecting a firearm into a confrontation.
Yeah.
Where 2 seconds earlier, there was a confrontation that did not have a firearm involved. And unless you plan on shooting somebody, waving that thing around and yelling and like displaying what you have, it's not going to resolve the situation at all. It's going to do the complete opposite. It's going to cause panic. People are going to start screaming. Like, if that guy pulled his gun out because they were in an argument over a mask, that other dude had full justification to shoot him right there. You know, like, I don't understand what he hopes to gain by interjecting a firearm into an argument over a mask.
Because he's scared and he knows he can't fight his way out of a fucking wet paper bag.
And Todd asked the question, do we know that the other guy didn't
let's say Greg is on the store, right?
Yeah.
And now he becomes a target, right?
Yeah.
Even if he don't want to shoot, just want to scare people, you know.
Yeah.
Not a good thing to do.
People are stupid. Not you people. I'm just saying.
Not the ones that are watching.
A lot of people.
But no, I mean, and that goes back because I just did a whole podcast on concealed carry. Like, if you are going to carry a firearm in your waistband, you need to at least do the bare minimum of educating yourself on the laws, the legality of it, when is appropriate to display it, when is it appropriate to engage somebody. Because if you don't do that, like, and again, I'm gonna throw my own mother under the bus. She bought a 38 revolver and just keeps it in her purse and walks around with it. I'm like, you don't train, you don't train, you've never been to the range with that weapon. You don't understand like conflict resolution. You don't understand armed combat, like all of these things that you need to do to understand why that firearm should be in your purse. A lot of people aren't doing it. And you're the only person that you're doing a disservice to is yourself. Like, if you have made the choice to find a firearm that you like and purchase it and get your concealed carrying, and now that's part of your daily life, I feel like you're obligated to go become educated on it, become trained on it, and now at least have somewhat of a proficiency with that weapon. You know, I think.
And let me reiterate all these things that Greg is saying that you really need to do if you're going to carry a gun is not to go and, like, you don't need this stuff to go off and fight Al-Qaeda. You need this stuff to survive and protect your family in potentially your first gunfight.
Yep.
Right. And a gunfight is a gunfight, whether it's happening in freaking Podunkville, wherever, or Ramadi, Iraq, or, you know, it doesn't matter. Bullets are bullets, and they do the same thing. You know, if you're going to carry a gun to potentially get into a gunfight, that's what you're carrying it for. You're carrying it to defend yourself and your loved ones, or maybe a third party from death or severe bodily injury in a life or death situation. That's a gunfight. Like, you need to have these skills to hopefully survive it.
And I think if you feel you're responsible enough to carry that, then you should be responsible enough to become educated on it and put yourself through the proper training. And I always like to mention, like, I don't think that this should be mandated. I don't think it should be like a government required course. I don't even think people should have to have a concealed carry license, because that starts to sound like an infringement to me. But the government shouldn't have to tell you, like, make sure that you're at a certain level of proficiency. You should have to make sure you're at a certain level of proficiency, just as a person that's decided to carry. So there, rant over on that one.
Yeah, you should be enough to go out and get training,
get
on your own.
And the other thing that I always tell people to do, it's just like any other aspect of life.
Anybody need water?
You
good?
Dude, find a mentor. Find someone that's better than you, that can kind of walk you through the steps and teach you about the fundamentals of firearm safety, teach you about, you know, like speed versus accuracy, combat shooting versus just plinking targets at the range, like all of these different things. Yeah, you can watch YouTube videos and you can go out and you can kind of get a little understanding of some of these things, but until you have someone there to kind of walk you through this, it's going to be exponentially more difficult to try and figure that out on your own. And since we haven't used a jiu-jitsu analogy in a long time, I think it's important to say,
that's the
hey,
time. That is the
hey,
time.
if you got two white belts that don't know anything and they're training each other, yes, there are certain things they can learn, but it's not even going to be comparable to the white belt that grabs a black belt and said, hey, can you show me this? Can you show me that?
Right.
Firearms is no different. Find someone that knows what they're doing, either a friend or a family member, or you might have to pay for it if you don't know anybody, but it's a necessary step to at least get yourself to a level where you'll be comfortable carrying that weapon and confronting somebody in armed conflict.
Man, I have experience from my own experience, because I never had like the proper, let's say, the like cops, right? You have like a training for this, for that. I never had it. I was just civilian. Then I thought I should have a gun because I have family, and I was doing good, doing seminars all over the world, and then I started like making money, start saving money at home, you know. So I thought like, well, I need a gun. And man, you know what I did? I started like practicing, you know. I started like watching videos, YouTube videos, and I bought like a BB gun first that works just like a Glock. And then I started practicing with the BB gun, you know, like not even shooting, like just playing around, magazine on, off, racking, pointing, and practicing before I got the gun, you know. And then I finally got the gun. And then I started going to the range next, close to my house, and start like once, twice a week, shooting. You know, in the beginning, bro, you shoot and then you don't even see where the bullet goes. You're like, man, impossible. You know, like where this thing goes. Like you're shooting, and the things appear. Bro, start.
It's on the target next to you.
Kind of, you know, like you don't see where the thing goes, you know. Well, bro, I start practicing, and little by little, start getting better. Of course, I have Greg. We went to the shooting range a few times. I have another friend. Start going by myself, to the point where watching videos and practicing drawing the gun, quick draws, like on the bathroom. You know, like in front of the mirror. Yeah. To the point where, bro, I go shooting the guys, and I shoot well, you know. I mean, I'm not a Navy SEAL, but I shoot pretty well, you know. Like I remember Greg was like, you're professional, you know. Like Navy SEAL, Greg was like, kind of, you know, like, man, you're a professional, you know. Like feels good. You know?
Ting, 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 ting. I'm like, I'm gonna go inside and get a snack or something.
So, you know, man, then you don't need to have like spend all that money. You know, man, you can do things at home, you know, that they're gonna make you better. Of course, if you look for, it's like jiu-jitsu, man, you can watch things, you know, learn a little bit, practice here, the friends here and there, the friends who knows, you know. It's not the same thing as going to the school and learn properly, you know, pay a class and make it. But you can make things, you know, man. I believe you can make things that practice at home and dry fire, you know.
I just wrote a whole article on that in Tactics and Preparedness magazine.
And you get used to the gun, you get used to the sound of the gun, the you know, the whole thing around the gun. And man, at some point in my life I thought that I should carry, you know, because I had some problems and I felt like I should just carry, but I ended up not needing, you know. Like I felt like, man, you know what, I never needed so far. I'm gonna keep my guns at home, so you know, like I'm safe, family safe, everything inside safe, you know. But at the end of the day, I don't even feel like, man, I need the protection for a gun. Like I didn't feel the need for that, you know. And the day I went there, I applied for concealment, and I went there, talked to the cops and stuff, the sheriff, and they were kind of, man, you know a lot, like have a gun, you know. I have the permission, and I'm like, you know what? Let's live for the next time. Let's see what happened in between now and the next time I feel I need, you know. Let's see if I'm gonna feel the feeling of needing, you know. And at the end of the day, man, the gun became like my friends, you know. I have Greg gave me a gun, it has my name and everything, you know. It became my baby, you know. Badass. You know. And bro, it's my adult, it's my big people toys, you know. Like I love going out with the guys, shooting, you know, practicing. I practice like the self-defense with the blue gun and stuff at the gym, like once, twice a month. Everybody loves, you know. It's super fun. It's one of the nicest training sessions you have. And you know, but I don't rely just on the gun. You know what I mean? I don't feel, oh no, the gun. If I have the gun, I'm gonna save my life. You know, because I know what comes with that. You know, I know I'm not the most calm person in the world. You know, I might do some bullshit. You know, if I get pushed enough, pushed through a line where I can control myself. You know, so to avoid problems, I just like, well, man, let's keep it home. You know, if I feel I need, of course, I'm gonna go after. You know, but it's I think it's a lot of responsibility. You know what you're capable of, or the things you shouldn't be done, and you probably will. You know,
definitely changes your life.
Measure that. You know, because the last thing I want is save the world and go to the jail. You know, like shoot the wrong person, or or go too much. You know,
yeah, absolutely.
But that's such an important perspective to share, because I think a lot of people get that gun and now it's just, I'm ready to go, instead of really taking an in-depth look at yourself, like, what are my triggers, or is this potentially going to put me in a scenario where I'm going to end up getting in trouble, or I'm going to end up doing something stupid? Because there's a lot of guys that goes 0 to 100 real fast.
Oh yeah, the problem if they have a gun.
If you're interjecting a gun into that whole scenario,
exactly.
And I fucking worry about that with myself still, even with a lot of firearms training. Like, I'm ready to fight to the death on I-5 if somebody like flips me off. You know, like, fuck it, let's go. You know, like, my wife's trying to stop it. You're being stupid. I'm like, no, this is gonna be combat. I need that guy's. He needs to die. He flipped me off. You know. And so I get that, and that's a real thing.
Easy, I resemble that remark. All right?
You can just wave.
Wave with the gun.
Yeah,
my road rage has gotten a lot better.
Yeah, mine has too. It was bad for a while.
It was real bad.
And it's funny because like I never even put it together until like literally like a year ago. I was talking to one of my CAG buddies because he almost killed this 82nd like private coming off of Fort Bragg, and he's a Delta dude. He's like, this fucking kid was riding my ass, and then he fucking honked at me, and I was like, you know what? I don't give a fuck. 20 years special operations, like I didn't give a fuck, dude. I pulled over, and I was like, if he fucking has a problem, he's dying today. And it's like, what?
But he's very serious. Like he's not throwing that term around.
And he's
that's
like,
the thing.
And then the guy just fucking drove by. And it's like almost like he was let down.
Yeah.
And then we started talking, and it's like every dude that I deployed with has some fucking deep-seated road rage problems, because that's where we were always attacked, you know?
Bro, I'll say this. I was telling this story the other day. When I would come home from rotation, I wouldn't drive for the first month. I'd make my, I guess, girlfriend / then wife drive me around for the first month. 1 month, I would not drive.
You're ready to pit, motherfucker.
Because I would pit, and there were a couple of times, first couple rotations home, someone backing out of their driveway in front of me, and I'm ready to fucking drive through, you know? No bullshit. Pit motherfuckers. I'd stop the car middle of the road. Fucking get out. Like, think, let's go. Come on, get out of the fucking car. So I just decided for a month, I'm not driving anymore.
Yeah, it'd probably have been a good thing to implement.
Yeah.
Post deployment.
I don't do that anymore though. I'm calm, cool, collected.
So who's driving home?
Yeah.
Well, I'm sober. I've been drinking water.
I'm good. I don't road rage anymore. I'm a esteemed business owner in a local community.
Right. All right. I think that's where we're going to wrap it up, huh, Brandon?
Yeah, I enjoyed this. I wasn't saying anything, but this was awesome.
No, people were like, Brandon, we feel like you're left out this whole conversation.
I saw some of those comments, yeah.
Whatever. You know, we had some special guests in town, so here they were, and might not have been all about guns.
Hey, it might have been a lot about you guys jiu-jitsu. Having me on. If you want to be inundated with more jiu-jitsu talk, feel free to check my podcast out.
Yeah.
The Endless Endeavor?
Endless Endeavor.
Yeah. When are you filming the next episode of that?
I think we're doing one
tomorrow.
Here. Yeah.
Like right here?
Tomorrow night, right here, we're filming one.
Yep, we're doing.
So, yeah, check it out on.
We'll just rehash out all the same
We'll just repeat the same thing. So, check that out on YouTube. I'll post the link in the comments here. Apple. What's the other one? Spotify. All of them.
More questions coming in.
Does anybody else have any questions? What about is your chair? No. I know I did see Jessica asked what everybody carries. They know what we carry. What's your carry gun? That's a
Glock
question.
19.
That's a surprise.
You know, like I get a lot of hate from my buddies that are anti-Glock people, but the reality of it is,
You have buddies?
yes, unfortunately,
They're your buddies?
There are people that don't like Glocks, but I mean, I touched on this on my episode. Like any of the major firearm manufacturers are going to build a quality weapon that you can rely on that's going to run. But at the end of the day, I've been carrying Glock since 2003 professionally, and now if I pick up a SIG or an XD, it just
feels different.
Just feels weird. It feels off, and so it is what it is.
Look, I had a manufacturer.
I have Glocks because of Greg. Yeah.
Right.
I'm a Glock guy because of him. Man.
Yeah,
So.
and same thing. And I'm not a Glock fanboy by any means, but you know, I had a manufacturer of another well-known, reliable combat pistol company. They say, "Hey, I want you to start shooting our guns. What'll it take?" And I basically said, "You would have to pay me to shoot your guns."
$1 million.
$1 million. Yeah, exactly. You know, but the fact of the matter is, yes, I carry a Glock for a living still. And if I was going to switch my Glocks, then I'd have to switch like hundreds and hundreds of dollars worth of holsters and potentially magazine pouches, and then magazine base plates, magazines, like you name it. Like, you know, so it's just.
Well, let me ask you guys
Glocks
a question,
go bang.
then, since you're way more dialed in on this shit. A 19, I mean, it's a fairly small firearm, but even a 19's kind of big if you're like in sweats or you're walking the dog.
Yeah.
So I was thinking of either getting the 43X or the 45.
Okay.
Not the Glock 45, but the nomenclature 45.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that? For your like, I'm in shorts and a t-shirt and I'm just going for a walk carry.
So for me, the 43X kind of defeats the purpose a little bit of the 43, right? Because what really prints is the width
grip
and the length of the grip, right?
Let's check out your hand size.
Well, yeah, you're tiny.
No, I mean, you got big hands too.
Same shit.
All right,
same hands.
Shit.
Haven't we done that before in like jiu-jitsu or something? Like
let's compare some other stuff after we're off.
Or there was a gun.
Yeah.
Gun right. Just the hands.
So
no, but the regular 43, it's only like it's halfway up my.
You carry it with.
Agreed. So I carry a 43 with the standard stock base plate in the gun, and then I carry a spare mag with a +3 extender on it.
Got it.
Now, we're going to go over this tomorrow, but when I talk about my grip and shooting, the majority of my grip is fulcruming where on the pistol?
Yeah, at the top.
Up high, right? Where I'm clamping the gun with the meaty muscular portions of my hands. So I don't care how much you're gripping the gun down here. So the fact that my pinkies are hanging off, it feels awkward, but it doesn't actually affect the management of recoil. For me, I carry, depending on my dress, Glock 43 or a Glock 19.
Okay.
Right? Glock 43 is for board shorts and a tank top. We're going out on the boat.
Yeah.
Sometimes if I have to go to a formal event with my wife and I've got to wear a suit and tie with my shirt tucked in, I wear my Glock 43 in a tuckable holster with my dress shirt tucked in because it's so flat and thin. If I'm going into the city, I'll change my dress and I'll carry my Glock 19 with a spare mag. If we're going and doing
we made a video on that. That'll be coming out soon on the YouTube channel, right?
On the Glock 19?
Yeah.
The
city.
Oh yeah, well that's for now. That's our EDC. Our enhanced EDC carry.
Yes.
So I think the 45, refresh my memory, the 45 is
it's
the 40.
It's a single stack. It's basically, I might be fucking this up. I think it's a 9mm that's a single stack.
Or 45.
The 45 is the 19X, but in black, right?
Double stack. Yeah. And
you're thinking 48.
The 48.
Like, a single stack 9mm.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. The 48.
So it's like a 19 size,
but narrower.
but single stack.
Right.
Yes.
So it's a 19 frame size, but single stack. So
Got
it's
it.
narrow.
Okay. That's what I was thinking.
Which for me, if you're going to carry something that big,
might as well.
if you actually look at the measurements, it's like point something of an inch wider.
Hey, every
but then with those mags I have, you have the same capacity as a 19.
Right. So that's the difference. The what's that?
It's Shield Arms.
The S15
mag. Yeah.
They make a mag for the Glock 48 that allows you to carry the capacity of a Glock 19,
in the
Got it.
48.
but in the 48, so in a single stack width.
That sounds like witchcraft.
Yes,
We can look at that.
That's like
after.
jujitsu.
We can't
with
touch
pistols.
guns on live.
I can't
Apparently.
even just.
Apparently you cannot touch that.
How
gun.
close can I get before we
I mean, we
I'm
can
not
find
touching
out.
it.
They
I'm not
might
touching
shut it off.
It's like my
the lights will
5-year-old.
cut
I'm not
out,
touching it. I'm
The
not.
lights
touching
will
it,
cut
right?
out. The mics will cut out.
Facebook and YouTube right now has just got their finger on the button, waiting.
Right.
for
They're like,
But
don't
yeah,
touch
I mean,
one of those guns.
to answer your question, kind of, and I know we've received these questions a lot from the
Yeah.
audiences. I try to stay as consistent as I can with I'm not a gun guy. I'm actually not.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm serious.
Mm.
I'm not a
Yeah.
gun guy. I have a few
How many
Glocks.
How many guns do you own?
What's a gun guy?
That's not a fair question.
What's a gun guy? What's a gun guy?
How many different types of guns do I have? So I have.
I'm not a gun guy. I probably have 60 guns in my
3,
safe.
I have 5
I'm not a
Glock
gun guy.
19s. I have
Okay.
5 Glock 19s, right? One of them stays in one spot on my house. The other is my carry Glock 19. The other 3 are loaner Glock 19s that I have for clients when they come in, they need to borrow a gun, or friends, they need to borrow a gun, right? I have a Glock 17. The Glock 17 is my factory IPSC gun,
Mhm.
9mm Glock. I have my Glock 43. That's my toting around town. I'm in, leave it to Beaverville, and I'm not really worried too much. And then I have a few ARs, 5.56, chambered 5.56. I've got my tote gun, a little satchel man purse gun, and then I've got my precision guns. Everything that I have, you talk about distance management. Fighting's about distance
Yeah.
management, right? So everything that I have is managing the distance, but I don't have anything other than Glocks. I don't have anything other than Glock 9mm. I don't have any fancy ARs that are in anything other than 5.56. I have one 308 bolt gun. I'm sorry, I have one 308 gas gun, which is like my mid-range, precision rifle. And then I have my 6.5 Creedmoor bolt gun, which is my mile-long gun. And then I do have now currently, because of the series that we've been filming, I have my
Rattler.
SIG Rattler for my enhanced EDC that I can carry in my
300
bag,
blackout.
which is 300 blackout, which apparently, according to
Apparently you're wrong.
I'm wrong, but that guy can
And Paul Harris is
that guy
right.
can suck start
Because he
something.
builds meat bags and shoots them. So you're
Right,
wrong.
exactly.
There's a real guy named Paul Harris.
And you're not.
Oh, well, yeah.
There's a Paul Harris in the
Paul
gun.
Harris
What's
means
it?
something else in the jiu-jitsu world.
Yeah,
Let's do-
whatever.
We don't go there.
So
All right. So there's that.
there's that.
What makes a guy a gun guy?
A
Is
gun
how-
collector, right? Like a gun collector, like, oh, I got this new 1911. You got to check it out. Oh, I got this new Walther P99. You got to check it out. Oh, I got the new FN,
A guy with like a
right?
wall behind
A
him
guy
that has
with
a
a
bunch of
wall
More like
fucking
enthusiast.
guns on it.
Like more like enthusiast.
Like a gun enthusiast. One of my mentors always said, are you a piano collector or are you a pianist? Right?
Right.
So for me, like the gun's a tool for me.
Right.
And that's it. It really is a tool. I don't have sexy guns. I don't have fancy guns. I don't have any fancy like Zev Tech or Agency Arm fancy Glocks. My Glocks are factory Glocks that I take a Dremel to and grind down myself and stipple it myself. They're ugly as shit. They got blood stains on the slides and holster wear like crazy.
From your enemies.
Exactly. Yeah. From my thumbs. And they're kind of dirty, and they're not pretty. But they work. And they
Well,
go
that's
bang every
that's one
time.
thing I love about Glock. You could bury it in the dirt for a year,
Oh yeah.
and you could dig that thing up. It's going to run.
Goes
Yeah.
bang. Goes bang.
I'm just blocking a user real quick. All right, cool.
What'd they say?
I'll tell you after.
All right. Dang. Sorry, you guys missed
All right. Well, you got anything else, Brandon? I think we're going to wrap it up.
No, I think,
Section-
man, you went over a lot of stuff. That was awesome.
Cool. Well, thanks for being on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's
Cool.
fun.
We'll do this again tomorrow night,
Let's
apparently.
go.
So if y'all want to see the next edition of this,
But it won't be live, will it?
no, it won't be live, right? So it'll come out, I don't know, in a few weeks or I don't know what the schedule is.
Yeah,
but-
probably
Comes
2
every
weeks.
Thursday.
Okay,
Yeah,
couple
every
weeks.
Thursday.
Nice.
Follow him on the
Endless endeavor.
Endless Endeavor.
I'm a Greg too, so I'll do it.
Couple Gregs, Greg squared.
That's
Cool.
right.
All right.
All right.
Thanks for being on. I'm going to hit end broadcast now.
Oos.
See you guys.